Welcome back, legends. I hope you're all fantastic. Today we've got a unit hot off the press from our friends at Crazy Tube Circuits, Time, which is a digital delay pedal that sets out to emulate a couple of iconic rack mount early digital delays, the MXR Model 113 and the Lexicon PCM 42, back when digital delays weren't pristine and hi-fi, when they were grungy and crusty, and people kind of use them for the same reasons they use old tape echoes, because not only did they just delay and repeat the signal, they added a whole bunch of character to the tone. So as you can see on here, the pedal has tap tempo, a three-way subdivision switch, and then the regular controls you would expect on a delay. We've got controls for mix, feedback, and time, as well as tone and modulation. There's also analog dry through on this, and you have the option between buffered bypass and true bypass by taking the back off the pedal and just flicking a little switch on the circuit board. And I have to say as well, the actual enclosure this comes in, kind of like all the Crazy Tube Circuit stuff, is really, really lovely. It's a joy to look at on your board, and as we're going to hear, it's a joy to listen to as well. So let's get into it. Let's start where we normally finish off, with a whole bunch of distortion. This is my dry sound. The first thing I want to show off with this delay is that different delay times are going to result in a different delay tone. So shorter delays are going to be cleaner, longer delays are going to be crustier and more degraded. To do that, I'll just tap a tempo in, and I'll start with the triplet subdivision. So just pay attention less to the length of the delay and more to the actual quality of the delay. Now if I go to the quarter note, listen to all the crust on there. And if I tap in a really slow tempo, that's going to give me the maximum time, and the maximum time is super crusty. I love it. We've also got a tone control and a modulation control in here. So what I'll do, I'll go to the dotted eighth note setting. That's kind of my happy place for these delays. I'll tap this in so it is a slightly shorter delay, and I'll fool around with the tone control. And spoiler alert, I'm probably going to end up with the tone control nearly all the way off. But not everybody loves that. I do. I'll show off the whole range. Let's actually start with it all the way up. That's almost got a tape echo kind of quality to it. Like I said, no surprise, I'm going to leave it right here. I'll add a little bit more feedback, and I'll slowly bring in some modulation to add some warble. Again, even though this is mimicking early digital delay units, those units did have a lot in common with the kind of tonal properties of early tape echoes. So with the warble, I think it gets even closer. I really, really like that as a modulated delay. Let's go for a longer time, back to the quarter note subdivision. I'm ignoring the time control here. If you just want to dial in your repeats with the time control, you can do that, but I normally work in subdivisions. You get a lovely kind of short, roomy slapback with the minimum time on there. I can also bring that one right down. I kind of like the modulation cranked up and the tone off, but let's say I brought the tone up a little bit and a little less modulation, you would get this. Kind of using that shorter delay time with the tone right off as well adds a lot to a rock rhythm guitar tone. So that's the filthy stuff. I'm going to swap to a different guitar and let's hear some clean stuff now, because the longer delays with modulation and a clean tone are just gorgeous on this pedal. I've got my JP7 on the middle pickup selection. It sounds like this clean. And as you can hear, you can do some pretty wild self-oscillation stuff as well. If you crank that mod, bring the delay time down to a minimum and set the feedback to 0, you have something kind of resembling like a slapback chorus, especially with the tone control up. That's what it sounds like on a clean sound. That's what it sounds like with some absolute filth post gain. The only thing we haven't done is run it pre-gain into a dirty amp with a feedback low, that kind of old school, like I associate it with the first Van Halen album, that delay trick, if you want to call it that. So let's hear that before we wrap up. Okay, back to that filthy sound from before. I'll start dry, then I'll bring the delay in. No feedback, no modulation, tone all the way off. 95% of the time I would run this in an effects loop and use it post gain, but as we just heard, it does the thing when you put it before a crunchy amp. Let's also hear it on synth. I'm going to use Arturia's amazing Jupiter plugin for a few synth sounds, and I'm going to run it into this in mono, and then I'm going to run this into my Eventide H3500 for some micro pitch shift and to make it sound stereo. We'll also make use of the tap and hold function for self oscillation, and I'm going to kind of lean into the YouTube synth demo aesthetic as well. So that's what time does. There's a long list of things it doesn't do as well. It's not MIDI compatible, doesn't have an expression pedal input, it's not stereo, it's not trying to emulate a tape echo, it's not trying to be a pristine digital delay, it doesn't sound like an analog delay, it's just kind of unashamedly what it is, and it's kind of carved out its own little space in the delay pedal ecosystem. If you need any of the things that I just listed that it doesn't do, there's already a whole bunch of options out there for that. And what I've found demoing and reviewing units like that is a lot of the time people will say, hey, all these features are really cool, but I'm not going to use any of those things. I just want something that basically kind of has a sound all its own. I want to twist some knobs, put it on my board. I want it to be small. I want it to be relatively affordable, and I want to go and use it. So if that's you, then this pedal might be for you. If you need any of those advanced features, then this isn't the one for you. I don't think the actual tones in here are going to let anybody down. It's more a case of weighing up the value proposition of the way this thing sounds, because it's kind of emulating some stuff that maybe you only get in big box delays as kind of a bit of an afterthought, or features that are overlooked. Like, how many people out there have gone and bought like a Boss DD500 just for the vintage digital sound, or like me, an Eventide Time Factor or H9 just for the modulated delay? Kind of seems like overkill, whereas, this won't do a bunch of the other sounds, but it will just do the old school vintage digital thing. So that is Time. Thank you to Christos and the crew for sending this pedal and a few other fantastic pedals over as well. We'll hear those in the coming weeks. And to finish, I want to hear from all of you. What did you think of this pedal? Is this something you would be looking to put on your guitar pedal board, or in your synth rig, or just on your studio board? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching the video. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you next time.